Well, hello and welcome to the Mindset Mentor. I'm Tania Kolar, helping you to live your best life. Super excited about today's show. Okay, you have got to tune in if you want to be inspired, if you want to be unstoppable. We are going to show you that in this hour. My special guest is the one and only Unstoppable Tracy Schmitt, who is the most remarkable human being I think I've even ever encountered. If you think that you cannot achieve your dreams, and if you have put them on hold because you make excuses, well, this is the show that you're going to learn to throw your excuses out the window. If Tracy can do it, you can do it because you are unstoppable. So let's just jump right into the conversation and welcome Tracy Schmitt, the Unstoppable Tracy, who is, okay, you got to listen to this. I mean, if I had an hour just to do the intro, I think it wouldn't be long enough to talk about all of the wonderful things that Tracy has accomplished in her life. She has climbed the Himalayan mountains. She has, won paraskiing bronze. Hello, a decorated athlete. She has captained a 110-foot tall ship. And she's a corporate consultant. She's an MBA. She is super smart. She is super funny. And I'm telling you, she is so inspiring that you look at life and you say, wow, like, well, then what can I not do? Right. Like, and so it turns the I can't do it belief system into I can. She has also been super instrumental in helping major corporations, like I'm talking like major corporations in Canada, including Uber, bust through limitations and breakthroughs. And she's going to help you to bust through your biggest breakthrough. All right. So let's say hello, Tracy. It is an absolute honor to have you here on the show. I have wanted to do this interview with you for a while now. So I'm so glad that we have finally connected and for you to share your story.
No, thank you, Tania. It is magnificent to be on your show, your incredible mindset show. I'm pleasure to be with your listeners.
This is so exciting because, Tracy, your story is remarkable in so many ways. So everything that you've accomplished. But one thing that I haven't mentioned to the listeners and the viewers yet is the fact that, you are also a four-time amputee. And that is just so huge when you look at everything that you've accomplished. For people who have full capacity, we all can step in our own way. So I'd love
Mhm.
to talk about, for you, what is the huge driving force to you actually being unstoppable? Like, how did you um get to the point where you believed that you were unstoppable? Because life is a belief system, right? And our results are based on our beliefs. So where did your beliefs come from?
No, even today, before our interview, I went to Tim Hortons, and I'm four-way amputee, yes, but I'm driving a 2024 car. I'm a professional international speaker, so I'm hoping that I'm eloquent enough when I say extra large steep tea. And I drive to the second window, and I reached out with my hands, of course, and I don't have hands. I'm
Mhm.
missing my arm, and I'm missing my right hand for those that are just listening to us. And the Tim Hortons person, she looked at me, and instead of handing me my cup, her face just went into shock.
Mm.
And then when she finally expressed herself, she was sort of like, "Oh, no." And I'm as you said, like I'm the only four-way amputee who has ever climbed the Himalayas, still, male or female.
Mhm.
And World Cup sailor. I sailed against 27 able-bodied men and three women, and everybody had their arms and their legs and no apparent disability. World Cup sailing, right?
Mhm.
And me. And then these two words with this Tim Hortons lady this morning, just like that. Oh no. Like I got a lump in my throat. And I am this powerhouse crushing, Uber, busting Uber into Canada. And it also took this morning on my way to being in this phenomenal interview with you and your audience. was, oh no. And then you're saying, what does it take? Where did it all come from? And and so yes, I was shifted in that moment. I was hurt.
Hmm.
But where does it come from? Immediately in my head, I was thinking of my biggest no, which was at 5 years old, and how my mom empowered me in that moment. So where does it come from? I had a unstoppable mom.
Beautiful. I love that. So, I want to talk about, what that experience was when you were five,
Mm,
and share
mm,
that story. But, I love that you shared that because, in life, we all experience the ups and downs, right? It's going to happen. But I think it's so important that when we are, shifted in that moment, when someone's taking us out of our greatness,
yeah,
momentarily,
yeah,
I think it's important to recognize it is momentarily. It's not
yeah.
forever, and we can always get past our challenges. We can get past our self-doubts. We can get past the judgments of others and the criticism of others if we recognize the greatness, if we recognize our unstoppable ability. And so your mother, when you were five, demonstrated what unstoppable really is. So what did that look like?
So first day of school, super excited. We're face to face with the principal, and it's the 70s. And he took one look at me and he said, I'm sorry, Tracy can't go. And he meant me without my hands and my legs. And, I see you shaking your head for people that don't see you, Tanya. And I bet you some of the listeners are like, oh, I
Horrifying.
want to talk to that man, right? So you wouldn't be
Yeah. Oh,
surprised if
yes.
my mom was like Mama Bear, right?
Mhm. Oh my gosh.
And so, but my mom, she wasn't. She had the kindest eyes, and she looked at that principal and she said kindly, how come? And, you know, I think it was luck, because if she had said, like most of us would, why?
Mhm.
He would have been triggered, because why is a trigger word, right? And she just lovingly said, how come?
Mhm.
And so because he wasn't defensive, he explained, no hands, she can't tie her shoelaces, no legs, she probably needs to go to the bathroom by herself and needs some help. And there's only one teacher, 30 kids, there's no educational assistance.
Mhm.
Children with disabilities go to segregated schools in the 70s. And so my mom, she says, oh, 30 kids, I understand. But then she counter offers and she says, can we please just try Tracy for 1 week? And I'll look for another school more suited for Tracy. And so he agrees, 1 week. And my mom shakes his hand. She smiles. She walks around to the side of the school and she collapsed to her knees. And I'm 5 years old. I'm like, well, is my mom okay? She's fallen on her knees. She's wearing like a 70s mini dress. And
Mhm.
I'm thinking that her bare knees, excuse me, I've spoken 10 times the last 10 days all over North America. So I have one of those overused voices today with you.
That's okay. That's what happens when you're a number one international speaker. You can't help yourself. The demand
It's
is there
pretty
for
nice.
you.
Yeah. So I'm worried about her bare knees. And then she grabs me lovingly, but she does that parental grip. The 10 fingers on this arm and the 10 fingers on this forearm. She's holding me with 10 fingers on my forearms, and she's looking at me super intense in my eyes. And she says, Tracy, it's really important that you and everybody's included. Nobody left behind. I'm 5 years old. I have no idea why my mom is so intense. And I break free of her super grip, because I don't realize if I'm not outside for recess, I won't get to stay. And when I break free to go play, I bump into the principal. And the principal had seen my mom on her knees and he'd heard her say, nobody left behind. And so, of course, sort of like the Christmas story, his heart grew 3 sizes that day.
Oh my gosh.
He doesn't want me to leave.
Wow.
And there is a part two, but we can pause for a moment if you like.
No, yeah, that is so incredible because oftentimes people in life hear the word no, it's just not possible, right? Like it's not going to
Yeah.
happen. But I think that it's important to go beyond the words and
Yeah.
to find that heart, right? Because when
Yes.
people don't understand something, they're more, apt to say no because they just don't have an understanding. It's easier sometimes to say no than to look at something and say, well, how can we make this happen? How can we make what seems impossible in this moment possible? And there's a whole trickle effect based on decisions made. And that moment in time, there's no doubt that that would have changed the trajectory of your life. Being
Yes.
surrounded in an environment where you're, allowed to be just like everybody else because you are just like everybody else. We are no different. There is no difference to anybody on this planet. We are one. And I think that, the issues lie when we don't recognize that. Right. And then so getting into part two of the story, share a little bit more of what happened next.
Well, and even to build on what you've said, Mom said, "How come?"
Hmm.
And she didn't reply, "I can tie my shoelaces," right? She just replied, "If it doesn't work out, can we please just try?"
Yes.
Right? So her listening was, he was, it was, she didn't answer his questions. She listened to what he was saying. And deeply, he was saying he was worried about being stuck with me.
Hmm. Yeah.
And she approached the conversation in kindness. And how come? So she kept, impossible unless what? And she kept the conversation open in her way of approaching. And and so because the principal heard what my mom said, you fast forward to recess time and he ran outside to find me because if I'm outside, I could stay.
Hmm.
And I wasn't. And his heart was devastated. And when the 15-minute recess bell went off, he came inside to find me and he asked my teacher what happened. And he said, couldn't Tracy tie her shoelaces? And the teacher says, Tracy was the first one to tie her shoelaces. And he's like,
Wow.
what? And it and he said, well, what happened? And she said, oh, her little friend couldn't tie her shoelaces. And of course, what did my mom say? Nobody left behind. But it turns out none of the 30 kids could tie their shoelaces. So by the time I tied 30 shoelaces, the recess bell went off. And so
Oh,
it was then that I learned that no, when the principal said no, he just didn't know KNOW. And that's what I made it mean. And and so with the Tim Hortons lady and my mom in my mind, when the lady said, oh no, I heard my mom. He just doesn't know, right? He just didn't know, and neither did she. And so I said, I can do it. She's like cautious. She scarily hands me the Tim Hortons cup. And I say, thank you. And I drive off. And then she's left amazed that I can hold a cup. And she doesn't even know that I climbed the Himalayas or that I'm a double black diamond skier or, 100 dives, master scuba diver, 100 feet deep. She, that I fly airplanes, that I jump out of airplanes. She
yeah.
doesn't know any of this, right? I can hold a cup and she's amazed.
Yeah, yeah, that's basic, right? Yeah, that's so interesting. Because so many people do, put limitations on us, right? And and they don't have an understanding. They just don't know. And that's why it's important to get to know, to understand people. We're all different. We're all so unique and, we're all meant to be exactly where we're meant to be. And it's important
Yeah.
to be your authentic self. And I love your journey has been beyond incredible. If you did one of those things in life, off of your very long list of accomplishments, then it would be pretty extraordinary. But you truly are a woman who embraces your identity and moves forward, thriving in everything that you do. You
Mhm.
have left audiences standing on their feet, applauding, as loud as possible because you stir something in them that makes them feel like they are limitless.
Yeah.
And, one of the biggest beliefs on this planet is the belief that we're unworthy and that we're not enough. And that moment of feeling limitless is that sweet spot, that state of flow where everything in life is possible. So
Hmm.
I'd love to hear a little bit about when you inspire your audiences. Let's talk a little bit about how you do that, how you can touch every single person in that room and leave them feeling so empowered, motivated, and inspired from your story.
You know, last night I was very excited that Bridgerton is back on Netflix for
Yes, I
those
love
people.
Bridgerton.
Yes, I love Bridgerton, and you
Yeah.
got to watch, right? Netflix is broke flicks if you're absorbed in too much. But
Yes.
it's certainly one of my guilty pleasures is Bridgerton that I allowed myself. And I had done like this big 10-day streak and traveling, and so I was like I'm like, okay, I deserve this moment of the new Bridgerton.
Yes.
And Penelope is coming at it where you said her and Colin, her love interest, she gets so nervous around other people. And he's talking about, when I was 5, when we interacted and you were comfortable, it's because you don't feel enough in your conversations with her pursuiters. And I think uh, it's funny. I enter a room as a 4-way amputee, and a lot of people are like, oh, I can't imagine how you do it. I don't know what I would do if I lost my arms and legs. And they come from this space where they kindly don't want to be me because they can't imagine being empowered. And
Mhm.
then at the end of the presentation, they're sort of like, oh, well, I'm not you. There's no way that I could climb mountains or jump out of airplanes, or face a room full of powerhouse men with
Yeah.
big titles and support them with pilot strikes. They don't know how I walk in there so confidently.
Mhm.
And I get that even if I go in my younger days going to the pub with girlfriends, and a man would approach me and say, you're the most confident person in this room,
I love
which
that.
would surprise me.
Mhm.
Uh, and so how do we relate when you're not someone that wants to jump out of an airplane? And that kindergarten story of vulnerability and being told no, and it it connects to everybody because we've all been told no,
Yeah.
right? And it might be like that's for boys, or that's for you know someone taller to play basketball or someone smaller to be in ballet. And it doesn't matter whether we're lesbian, bi, gay, trans, queer, plus, two-spirited, black or white, with a visible disability or a non-apparent disability or no disability, right?
Mhm.
We're all underestimated. But what's worse is not the outside world, because they can influence us. They just validate when we're underestimating ourselves.
Mm.
And I think that COVID and isolation, some people thrived and many people did not, but it shifted all of us into a different way of being. And it used to be people raced to open doors for me as somebody without hands and clearly artificial legs. But now people are crossing the street. And it's because I think many are in a much more vulnerable space,
Mhm.
and being there is where I end up with beautiful, kind standing ovations, because everybody in that room has something. They've got elder care, they have child care, they have a job shift, they have a job loss,
Mhm.
they
Mhm.
have a neighbor, they have children with anxiety that they never imagined that their child would have. Like we all have something, and I think that's what causes the connection in the room, because we get to feel the feeling, right? I get to cry because I've just lost my mom, and that just immediately makes me sad.
Yeah, yeah.
But
And my deepest
exceeding
condolences.
uncertainty, right? We get to exceed uncertainty. Feeling uncertain is okay,
Mhm.
but exceeding uncertainty and taking inaction is not okay.
Yeah, and it's
We
staying
get to
stuck.
exceed uncertainty. Yeah.
Yes, I love that. Exceeding uncertainty. And, my deepest condolences to you. I know how much your mom meant to you and how instrumental she was in your life and your
Yeah.
success as well.
Thank you.
It's heartbreaking, to hear that. But again, this is about life and reality where
Yeah.
we all experience challenges, the things that really shake us and bring us to our knees. And it's important to hear stories like yours, Tracy, where you can show people how to move forward. There's always going to be challenges. We're human. We're not
Yeah.
going to escape this planet without having challenges. It's just not
Yes.
possible. And
No.
so we need to understand that we can live a great life. We can be unstoppable despite our circumstances, because what's more important is our internal environment and what we believe. Like your story of the Tim Hortons. I'm
Yeah.
sure you've had that story come up many times in life and how
Yeah.
people react to you. And you were talking about COVID and people not opening doors and, crossing the street. And, it's our belief system starts to take over and says, well, why are they doing that? And then
Yeah.
and really beat ourselves up.
Yeah.
I will say as well is that, I've had people where it's like, yeah, that they're not holding the doors either because I think they're scared. They're scared. There's a fear. And
Yep.
for whatever reason it is, right? I mean, I think we all do have to understand that collectively we thrive better together, right?
Yes.
And, we have to unite and help each other to get past those crises in life, the challenges in life, the things that, cause us to have the breakdowns. And I
Yeah.
love that you are about how to have the breakthroughs.
Yeah.
You've helped not only individuals, but corporations. And like, how did that start for you? Because, um, obviously at 5 years old, you were in an environment that your mother helped to make sure that you were not left behind. But how did others react to you? I'd love to hear a little bit about and growing up and how that led you to now be a corporate leader, stand and command attention for corporates, high powerhouse people and individuals and corporations.
Yes. And I'm sensitive that a break is coming up, and double checking
Yeah.
where that's at.
Okay, so what we can do is, yeah, how about we take a break? We'll take a break and we'll come back and continue. I mean, listen, I can talk to you all day long,
Yes, I'll be
for
here.
hours. So this is fantastic. But let's take a break and we're going to hear more from Unstoppable Tracy and how
Yes.
you can have your biggest breakthroughs and how you can be limitless. Stay tuned. We'll be back after this on Sauga 960. Well, welcome back to the Mindset Mentor here on Sauga 960. We are having an unstoppable morning with the incredible Tracy Schmitt. She is truly unstoppable. Unstoppable Tracy has been inspiring the masses with her incredible accomplishments. Scaling the Himalayan mountains. That's a pretty difficult feat. Oh my gosh. I'd love to get into the mindset of that as well, because
Yeah.
that takes a little process. She's also a decorated athlete. She is an MBA. She is an international speaker. She is a best-selling author, and I'd love to talk about her book as well. It's called Unstoppable You: Exceed Uncertainty, Embrace Possibilities, and Earn Independence. So just before we took a break, Tracy, we were, delving into your story and how from the age of 5, your experience was with other people, integrating into society, so that no one was left behind. You were in kindergarten with the help of your mom, to be in this particular school. How did other people react to you, and how did that continue in your life, the reaction of others that led you to be in rooms and stages with powerhouse CEOs and top executives and leading corporations, world corporations, for you to have the confidence and the courage to guide them and help them to find the breakthroughs and get rid of the breakdowns? How did that journey transpire?
You're making me think of when Air Canada was going through, it was right after bankruptcy, and the federal government had encouraged a merger with Canadian Airlines.
Okay.
And weeks before, the two airlines were competing, and there was like picket signs saying better dead than red, right? And now they are working together synergistically. You were saying about how we get to be collaborative, but
Mhm.
they come from such opposing spaces. And I stepped out of an elevator, and there were 11 men in like powerhouse suits and one woman who was also in a powerhouse suit, and these 12 folks. And when I stepped off the elevator, the first thing I heard was somebody say, "Oh, great. This is going to be a total waste of time." And of course, my first mistake was making it mean that that was about me,
Mhm.
right? It immediately got inside my head.
Yep.
And so, transport in time with where I heard the exact same sentence. And I was on a lawn with my legs off with a blanket, and there were children playing on a neighboring lawn. And, and I grew up in affordable housing,
Mhm.
and there was gravel driveways on really steep pitch lawn, not the best of property. And I didn't sit back. I was waving, come play over here, because with my legs off, I couldn't walk across the gravel driveway.
Yeah.
And
And just
one of
to
the kids,
clarify, because I'm not sure if I even mentioned this part when we came back from a commercial break, that Tracy is a four-way amputee. So when you're saying your legs off, I just wanted to provide that context in
yeah,
case anybody missed that.
for people
Okay.
to realize, yeah,
Yeah, this is a
if you're
big
just
deal.
joining us now, yes. And I'm missing my hands, missing my legs. And so I was like waving. I have one arm that's a little longer than my missing left arm. And I was waving it to come play over here. And I could hear one of the kids shout, "Ignore her. Don't talk to her. She's weird."
Hmm.
And of course, as a little girl, I started to cry.
Hmm.
And my mom opened the door just to check on me on the front lawn, and she finds me crying, and she's like, "What's wrong?" And I said, I just want to play with those kids. And they started to say mean things to me. And my mom, she looked at me and she said, "How's that working for you?" And shut the door.
Whoa. Oh,
Yeah, that's and so that's how as a young child, like, whoa, right? And I thought, oh, my mom is so mean. But of course, from the kindergarten story that she's the kindest soul on the planet. And so I realized after a bit of time, like, I could cry. I get to feel the feelings. That was mean what they said,
yeah.
but I could cry and do nothing about it, or I could cry and then I could do something about it. And so I looked around, and at the bottom of my slanted front lawn, there was a skateboard. And so without my legs on, I rolled down the hill, and I like to say I borrowed the skateboard.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
right. And so remember, I don't have legs, so I sat on the skateboard because I'm missing both of my legs above my knees. And I'm missing my left arm, but I do have one longer arm, missing my hand, but I have one longer arm. So I took the one longer arm and I propelled myself on the skateboard over to their lawn, and I rolled up their front lawn, And then I'm face to face with them all, and their eyes are huge as saucers. And so I didn't know what to make that mean. And I was making it mean that, I defied the bully by showing up on the lawn. It could have been that their eyes were like, holy cow, we've never seen a girl with no arms and no legs roll up our front lawn before, right? There could have been a multiple of reasons, but I made it mean because I defied the bully. And I looked over at the bully, and when there's a car accident in movies and it goes in slow motion, and
Yes.
if you've lived through one, it also goes through slow motion. So I could see the bully's mouth opening. Whoa. And I realized in that moment, if he gets to say what he's about to say, like, I'm going to be going back down that hill.
Mm.
And that I hadn't really thought it through, right? I jumped in and I headed over there and I didn't think. And I'm like, I don't know what to say. So I took a deep breath. And you could see, even sitting here with you, I'm already taller on the screen,
Yes.
right? And so I made myself as tall as I could be sitting on that lawn. And I was petrified, scared out of my mind. And I said the only thing I could think of with my young self, and I just like, hello, I'm Tracy. Can I play? And I didn't get off that easy,
Mm-hmm.
but I did catch the bully off guard. And so then the bully, he regroups and he's like, the new kid's always it. And I didn't know, how am I going to chase them with tag, or how am I going to play hide and seek when they've all got their arms and their legs and I'm sitting here with gravel driveways around me and no legs. But even though I didn't know how, I knew there was no space for any excuses, because if I made one, it'd be like, sorry, that's what we're playing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I just said, okay. And none of those kids ran off that lawn. They all just stayed on the grass, which meant that I could run on my stumps, on my knees, on the grass, and I could roll around on the grass. So time warp back into the elevator. I step off the elevator and I hear, this is going to be a waste of time. I took a deep breath. I smiled, even though I was petrified, and I made eye contact with all 12 of them. And I said, hello, I'm Tracy. Shall we get started? And there was many mergers of different functional areas happening. And our focus that day, I was the facilitator for merging the employee assistance program. And one airline had it external and one airline had it internal. And of course, both of them wanted to keep it the way it was.
Mm-hmm.
And so my role was to facilitate these 12 union reps from two different airlines into creating one new merged employee assistance program.
And that must have been a very heated debate.
Yes, because they
Mhm.
were union reps, right? They were busy striking for seniority between airlines. And we were the first group to come to a loving solution.
Oh,
And so, yeah, you get to put on a brave face
Mhm.
and say hello.
Wow. Oh my
They
gosh.
just,
Okay. Take a deep breath, right?
yeah,
When things show up like that, that sort of, take you out of your greatness, uh,
power space.
and just to, regroup. I love that. It's incredible because in all of those situations, you showed such courage. And even despite the fact that we're feeling like, neglected, left out, hurt,
Not good.
that you can move forward and you can make a change, and to help people to understand. And so your mom started by asking the question, can we try?
Yeah. And
And
how come?
how come? And you asked the question in the elevator, shall we get started, in
Mhm.
that group environment. And I love that because those questions, when you ask an empowering question, when you ask the right question, you're going to get the right response.
Yeah.
right? So I think that's really important, and always being courageous and stepping out of that comfort zone, because it's not easy. That is not easy when your heart is crushed by someone's words in that moment.
Yeah.
And then we are taken back to our triggers. We all have triggers, right? It's those things that take us back in time where we feel like at our lowest and our most vulnerable. And to be able to rise up about that, to stand tall, to take that deep breath. Oh my gosh, I applaud you, so greatly for the work that you're doing, the inspiration that you bring to humanity to help us to understand that, what, there is no limit. The limits are the limits that we put on ourselves based on usually other people's thinking and other people's belief systems. So, in your life, apart from your mom, I would say, who would be some of the role models that you looked up to that helped you to be your best self?
You talked about like the Himalayas and the mindset that that must have taken. And I remember the first day I ever climbed, it was with Outward Bound.
Mhm.
And I was a co-facilitator with the group, but not on the activities, but on the process of admitting people into the group and the
Yeah.
media and all of those other pieces of the administration. And this woman, Kathy Smart, I had met her when I was about 8 years old, and she was 18. And she found out that there was no sailing for people with disabilities. And she marched into Hugh McMillan Medical Center, which at the time was called Ontario Crippled Children's Center, way back when, right? That was the times. And she wanted names. And because of privacy, they couldn't give her children with disabilities that she wanted to invite into a sailing club. But
Hmm.
I was in the waiting room. And so I was like, I'll sail, I'll sail. So she invited me into her sailing, able bodied sailing world of sorts. And so that was 8 and 18. Now, fast forward, now I'm 18 and she's 28. And we're doing this Outward Bound. And we've partnered with Outward Bound, and we're about to climb the cliff. And I've got the Himalayas on and I've got my belay line, and I go to get started to climb. And I haven't even put 1 minute of effort in. All I did was go towards the rock face and get my finger on a rock edge. I have one finger on the one long arm and
Yeah.
my little stump arm like on the other edge. And I just lift my stump knee to get started. And like everybody behind me went, right? And they all came in at me. They're like, here, let me help you. And they all came in and said, oh, I can push, or I can pull the line, or we can climb together. And I hadn't even made one step or stride.
Hmm.
And this Kathy Smart that had been with me from 8 years old, and now she's 28 and I'm 18. She was like, you either love her or you get put back by her, because she's a powerhouse herself. She was a
Yeah.
powerhouse role model for me growing up.
Hmm.
And she's like, stop,
Get away. Let her do it.
wait,
Yeah.
give her a chance.
Yeah.
She gets to figure this out. Who knows her best but her? Just breathe and give her a moment,
I love
right?
it.
And it was beautiful. And it was, and when I was 8 and falling out of the boat, uh, because I sail with my legs off, I know how to swim. I'm wearing a life jacket. She's like, she's okay. She loves to swim. Like, I get to figure out how to climb back into the boat when it was scaring everybody else. And
Yeah.
so, and that's what I think COVID has also done, right? We thought we had helicopter parenting before. Now we're really getting the micromanagement in managers, and we're getting the really protective parents.
Mhm.
And it's because we get to figure out how to swim when we're drowning. We get to figure out how to climb when we're faced with impossible. We get to see that it's impossible unless what? But we get to figure that out.
Oh my God, I love that so much. We get to figure it out given the opportunity. We need to have the opportunity. And it's so funny that you just said all of that, about the micro managing and the helicopter parenting, because the moment you said that experience of, people being there and wanting to do it for you, I thought of, parenting right away, because it's just something I think innate in parents, that they want to do everything and help their
Yeah,
kids,
love
right?
them.
Yes,
Yeah.
and love them greatly, but then you do have to let them learn.
Yeah.
Because when we take away their learning, we're taking away their ability to feel limitless, right? It's kind of
Yes.
like we're disarming them. It's like the
Yes.
opposite. Yes,
Yes.
right?
You need to disarm those limiting beliefs as a girl with no arm.
Yes.
And with new employees, the enthusiastic beginners,
Mhm.
they don't need motivating. They're excited by their new job, right? They need knowledge on how to do the job. And then when they get to that place where now they're the disillusioned learner, right? Like the teenager learning to parallel park or get on a highway, like I can drive, and now they're getting on a highway or they have their first accident,
Yeah.
or the new employee where they find a task they don't know, they didn't know. And so now they're disillusioned. This is when we get to build confidence and support with knowledge, but still encouraged to figure it out, right? Workplace, children.
Yes. And, we're going to help you figure it out when we come back after this break. Stay
Nice.
tuned for more of Unstoppable Tracy. Tracy is a remarkable woman who has accomplished so many great feats that, I could take an hour just discussing all of her accolades, including climbing the Himalayas, parasailing, decorated athlete, like won a bronze medal. Unbelievable. She is a best-selling author. She is international best-selling speaker. She or not selling speaker, but world speaker.
Well, that too.
Yeah, exactly. And there's just so many great things. And so you got to stay tuned because we're going to help you to become unstoppable in your life. We'll be back after this. Welcome back to the Mindset Mentor. I'm Tania Kolar, helping you live your best life. And I always talk about how it seems a little bit challenging, right? A little bit daunting to live your best life when you feel like you cannot reach out and grab your dreams. You cannot have the things that you want or go for your desires because maybe you have a belief system that doesn't allow you to dream big or has prevented you from, pursuing those dreams. Well, today on the show, the Unstoppable Tracy Schmitt is my special guest, and I am beyond honored to have you on the show, Unstoppable Tracy,
Oh,
because your
Tanya.
story, I mean, I don't know that I have ever met anyone who has accomplished the things that you have accomplished, and then has been so inspiring and motivating to others, including huge, massive corporations, including, Uber and Air Canada. I mean, the list is endless of your accomplishments. You're super intelligent, MBA, super funny, and the most kind person and positive person I think that I've encountered. I know the
Oh,
first time we met, Tracy, it was at an event, Amplify Your Voice, and you were one of the judges there, helping to others thrive, right, and coaching them. And I was like, oh my gosh, you are super positive. Your energy is amazing. And to look at your life and then also knowing, by the way, everyone, if I haven't mentioned or if you didn't hear me mention, Tracy is a four-way amputee. And your mantra, Tracy, I love this. I had to like take a pause when I read this. So your mantra, if I can do it, you can do it. What's your excuse? I was like, whoa, like I literally had like chills go through my body because it's so true. We all make excuses in life. And you are the epitome of what unstoppable really is and what, a powerful powerhouse role model is. So thank you so much for sharing your story. So let's delve into a little bit more of how did that become possible for you? How do you do it when life feels so daunting, which a lot of the listeners right now are, I'm sure, feeling stuck or have felt stuck, and they don't have the impetus to move forward. They don't know how to do it. What can
yeah.
you say to them?
You know, to, we all kind of struggle at embracing the possibility. I'll embrace the possibility of being the first woman with a disability to the North Pole, but embrace the possibility of finding the love of my life. Maybe then I have some, who's going to love the girl without arms or legs, right? Like we all have something, some area. And when one of the times I really when I embraced the possibility, like I knew I could sail and I failed the first summer.
Yep.
And I kept climbing back in the boat, and it turns out balancing was an advanced study skill. And so I got my bronze 4, and then I got my 3-2-1. So, sometimes we feel like we're drowning,
Yeah.
and we're just doing our advanced study backwards.
Mm.
Another time I embraced possibility without a doubt was skiing. I knew I was going to ski. And lots of no's. No, we can't support her. No, she can't join our program, right? It was just all of these how comes and can we just tries conversations. And I got in the door, and we tried a sitting ski, but you use outriggers, crutches that you put skis on at the end. And I didn't know how, but I knew I was going to ski. And some of our listeners don't know how they're going to be self-employed, how they're going to be a #1 speaker, how they're going to be the best mom on the planet, how they're going to crush the male dominated world that they might be in right now, right? Or for the men to get the promotions that they're looking for, or to find the love of their life. And so we didn't know how I would ski. And the sit ski, I ended up wiping out in the trees with the outriggers because I don't have hands. So then we tried my long legs, my artificial legs, my Pinocchio legs, and my knees end above knee. I don't actually have knees. I just have some partial thighs. And so because my knees are artificial, we get on the hill and my knees would just collapse. And I wiped out some more. But I knew I was going to ski. For whatever, I had no doubt. Wiping out with the sit ski, wiping out with the long legs. And we went inside, and my ski instructor was with me, my coach. And anybody that coaches is having a coach like Tania, having a mindset person. Coaches have coaches. And there's no surprise that Tania and I are connected in this world, because she's powerful. But so me and my ski coach was sitting next to me at lunchtime, and he had his ski boots off. And I have my legs off for sitting in the sit ski. And I looked over at his feet, and I kind of inappropriately was thinking, holy cow, he's got big feet. Right. And then I got this light bulb. He's got big feet. My thighs, my stumps could fit in men's ski boots.
Wow.
So that's what we did. We put my thighs in men's ski boots, and I wiped out some more. Mm-hmm. Because boots are angled, right? Mm-hmm. And I was knees to skis, and you have knees that you do a duck squat, you crunch. So we put my thighs in men's ski boots backwards.
Oh.
So I ended up being in that duck squat position because I'm knees to skis and no toes. So it didn't matter which way the boots faced. And so you get to embrace the possibility, even if you don't know how. You believe you can do it.
Yeah. We don't need to know the how, right, Tracy? The how, you show up.
You just show up, and you'll find your backwards boot solutions. You'll find what works for you.
Oh, that is deep. I love that, because we will wipe out in life. We're going to wipe out. We have the wipeouts, but you got to keep on getting up and looking for solutions, because every perceived problem, right? It's really a perception, has a solution. The solution is there if we are willing to look for it, if we're willing to find it. And sometimes it's challenging. You got to delve a little deeper, right? Sometimes you got to really dig to find that. But when you do, the reward is just remarkable. So I'd love to talk about, what did it feel like for you when you, embrace those challenges, but ultimately you got to the pinnacle, you got to the reward. What was that like?
The biggest elation, besides, family, right? I love my niece and nephew and holding my niece for the very first time. But the biggest win was when I went to pursue my Paralympic dream. And who you surround yourself with. I surround myself with you, and I surround myself with gold Olympians. Mm-hmm. And there was only one in North America at the time, and it was Magnus Lidgedal. And he's a lot like Shrek. Mm-hmm. And I wish I was Fiona of the story.
Oh,
but I'm not. I'm more like Theo. I'm more like Donkey,
oh.
right? And so for 3 months, for 89 days, like Donkey, I was sleeping in my car, hiding in his boatyard. And at 5:30 in the morning, every morning for 89 days, I would wake up in his boatyard parking lot, and I would wash and wax boats for him at 5:30 in the morning, like Karate Kid,
Oh
you
my
know,
gosh.
for 3 months, sleeping in my car, washing boats, eating
Wow.
Cheerios. And Magnus wanted nothing to do with me.
Mhm.
And finally, the last morning, every morning I'd talk in the car and I'd be like, today's the day Magnus is going to take me on. And I wouldn't get out of the car till I believed it. And like this 89th day, it was like 20 times I said it and I just didn't believe it. So I flipped it and I said, today's the day I'm going to be the best version of me.
Oh, oh, that's the best. Yes,
And
exactly. Not dependent
not
on what
Magnus.
others
Yes. And
believe. Yeah.
that's the day, right? I helped somebody get a boat out and I supported somebody that was about to crash their boat and I supported somebody with some knots. And Magnus saw me do all of these sailing competency skills and he lumbered on down. He's like, Tracy, you can sail. 3 months I'd be trying to convince him.
Mhm.
And Magnus got me into like the 12 months before Rio 2016 Olympic Paralympic trials. I was in 135 races with able-bodied people. I sailed against 27 able-bodied men,
Mhm.
3 women, and they all had their arms and their legs.
Yep.
And I was in that World Cup regatta. Even if I came 30 out of 30, I would have been 30th in the world. Male, female, black, white,
Yep.
lesbian,
Just to
bi,
get
gay, trans,
there.
queer.
Just to get there is
Yeah.
extraordinary. Yeah,
And
for sure.
so, but that day when he's like, Tracy, you can sail, it was like, whoo, I got goosebumps. I couldn't think of anything else. I was so elated. And
Yeah.
that confidence boost was what got me to trials in Melbourne, Australia with World Cup sailors.
Yeah,
Uh,
incredible. It's like moment of being seen.
yeah.
Oof.
And it didn't happen in a phone call, right?
Mhm.
You're going to be faced with your Shreks, with the underestimators,
Yeah.
and they just don't know. They just don't know. And
Yeah.
you get to figure it out. You get to help them see one way or another, impossible unless what?
Exactly. And it's interesting, 'cause, you talked about that, the backwards,
Boots.
and sometimes you start with the advanced.
Yeah.
But, life can sometimes feel hard. And it's not that, you can't achieve something. It's maybe you're just the first person. You're the first to do it, right?
Yes. Even
That
better.
is incredible when you're the first and then you lead the pathway, and that pathway to get there can be very skewed and can be filled with a myriad of obstacles, but it's
Yeah.
understanding that what is the end goal. You have to know what your end goal is, and
Yeah.
as we've talked about, you don't need to know the how you're going to get there. Know
Yeah.
what it is that you want, right? If
Yes.
you have the
Yes.
passion of why you want to have that, and then it shows up, but you first need to show up for yourself and you need to take action. So I love that you and everything that you have done have truly been unstoppable. Taking action, no matter what people think, no matter what people say, you just said, listen, I'm going to be first. There's so many firsts for you, Tracy. So
Yeah.
well done.
Thank you.
So we have just a little bit of time left. So I would love if you can tell us a little bit about your book and how we can get your book.
What I realized is I don't want it. I don't want to be inspiring. I want people to be inspired to take action, right? It's about unstoppable you.
Mm,
So the kindergarten stories in there, the Magnus sailing story is in there, the lifeline of climbing in the Himalayas story. We're not alone. Kathy was my lifeline. Who's your lifeline? The stories are in Unstoppable You. And instead of being a biography, it's actually an Unstoppable You workbook. At the end of every chapter, I ask you, Like, what's working for you? What's not working for you? Okay, what's a roadblock right now? And reflecting on what's working, what's not working, what are you committing? Right? And that's one chapter. And every chapter has different questions and different exercises after the story. And they mirror they're questions, they're open questions, but they come from, I'm Stephen Covey, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I'm certified, and Ken Blanchard does situational leadership, and I'm certified, right? I'm an advanced certified facilitator with Achieve Global,
Mhm.
with stress management and developing others. So all my stories are rooted in leadership development and self development. And you can, if you're a coach, you can repurpose these questions with your students, or if you're self looking to crush an obstacle, it gives you a chance to self reflect. So it's a very powerful Unstoppable You, and it's a free download. You can order the hard copy if you like to write out your answers, and I'd be very happy to personalize it to you. But everyone gets to be unstoppable and have a free download. You visit unstoppabletracy.com, and at the moment the website says you get a chapter, but I'll let your listeners in on a secret. You get the whole book right now.
Oh,
Get the whole book. I
amazing.
don't send a chapter.
Yeah.
And that's the unstoppable part, right? You get the pleasant surprise.
Yeah. It
You get
always
the whole book.
exceeding beyond and providing more and let
Yes.
people know that they are limitless. So I love that. And having a free download, everyone listening right now, go to unstoppabletracy.com. Get your free download because there are no excuses. You have no excuse. Tracy is arming you with the tools to truly live your best life. Her story is so inspirational to help you to understand that you are unstoppable, that you
Yes.
are limitless. Uh,
Mm.
and her mantra again, if I can do it, you can do it. What's your excuse? There are no more excuses. Today, make a decision. Our greatness lies with the moment for, and understanding for us to choose that, to choose us, to choose our best life. It's a decision. And remember, we're always creating new neural pathways when we jump out of our comfort zone.
Yes.
Our mindset is truly like a muscle, right? We need to strengthen, condition, and nurture it. Just like we go to the gym, we're always working out. We know the benefits of that. And you have to take action. So Tracy, I want to acknowledge you again for being such an incredible powerhouse. You are truly the most remarkable woman I think I've ever met. And when I say woman, let's just say person, because it goes beyond, genders. It is about what you are teaching others. The belief in themselves is so huge, right? Because that is what prevents us from living our best life. And you are the epitome of helping others to embrace their greatness, their possibilities, and to knowing that they can thrive, that they can crush those obstacles. So thank you so much, Tracy, for spending time today. I am beyond honored, and I cannot wait to see what you have coming up next.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
So that is a wrap for today's Mindset Mentor. I'm Tania Kolar, helping you to live your best life.